Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. We begin with California wildfires. 1 week of devastation and the worst may be yet to come. They're bracing for strong winds that could fan the flames. And despite the best resources and help from neighbors, the U.S. is struggling. Meanwhile, the affected people have been dealt a double whammy, loss of home and no insurance cover. We'll tell you why insurance companies are dropping policies in L.A. Also in focus, will Donald Trump end the Gaza war before taking office? Will TikTok be sold or banned in the US and who will buy it, Elon Musk or Mr. Beast? Can Trump buy Greenland? A new bill is being introduced in the US Congress titled Make Greenland Great Again. Why is Pakistan still a major non-NATO ally of the US? What is Joe Biden's latest move to secure America's chip dominance? How the Maha Kumbh has boosted travel in India? How Djokovic debuted former rival and now coach Andy Murray? And what's the future of jobs? A new report says almost 40% skills will be obsolete. All this and more coming up. The headlines first. North Korea fires several short-range ballistic missiles into the sea. Is this Kim Jong-un's message to US President-elect Donald Trump? It is also being seen as an attempt to destabilize South Korea as it faces political turmoil. The launch was Pyongyang's second this month. Last week, it fired a new hypersonic missile system. Ukraine fires missiles and drones at factories and energy facilities across Russia. Moscow accuses Kiev of using US and British supplied missiles, promises retaliation. Ukraine says it's the largest aerial attack on Russia since the war started in 2022. Both sides have upped the ante amid speculation of potential talks to end the conflict. Donald Trump would have been convicted in the 2020 US election case if he wasn't the president-elect. That's what former special counsel Jack Smith's report says. Trump was accused of conspiracy to overturn the 2020 election result where he lost to Joe Biden. The Justice Department says the U.S. Constitution prohibits prosecuting a president. Trouble brewing for Mark Zuckerberg in India. A parliamentary panel is set to summon Meta after Zuckerberg falsely claimed that the incumbent government in India lost the 2024 election. He said it was due to its handling of the COVID pandemic, when in fact the Narendra Modi government won a third consecutive term in the 2024 polls. And shelling in the Sudan's greater Khartoum area kills at least 120 people as fighting between the army and the paramilitary escalates. Since April 2023, Sudan has been at war with rival forces vying for control. Neither group has claimed responsibility for the shelling. The wildfires in California began exactly a week ago. They're still raging and they're set to get worse because strong winds are expected in the days ahead. Winds which will most certainly fan these fires and make the crisis worse. At one location, the blaze has already transformed into a fire tornado. The situation could deteriorate further. Los Angeles is bracing for even more destruction. It is the second largest American city, also the home of Hollywood. It is being torn apart by the blaze. The scale of devastation is massive. More than 12,000 structures have been destroyed. So far, at least 24 people have died. Another 23 are missing. The economic losses have soared to $275 billion, and it is not over yet. Two of the biggest wildfires in LA are still burning. The first one is the Palisades. It is the largest wildfire burning over 23,700 acres of land. Only 14% of this fire has been contained. It still poses a threat to residential areas. The second one is in Eaton. It has scorched more than 14,000 acres. It is 33% contained. Compared to others, this fire is now spreading slowly, but the days ahead will be challenging because experts are predicting strong winds in LA with speeds exceeding 100 kilometers per hour. Local officials say these winds could be as strong as a hurricane.
The National Weather Service is predicting close to hurricane force level winds, and so we're making urgent preparations.
So the worst is yet to come. Strong winds could make the wildfires even more intense. They could spread, and the firefighters will face more challenges. Planes and helicopters, which spray water and flame retardant, won't be able to fly. Plus, new wildfires are already breaking out. These pictures are from Ventura County. It is right outside Los Angeles City. So wildfires are spreading and local authorities are making dire predictions. They fear what they call explosive fire growth. Locals in the line of fire have been asked to stay alert and be prepared for evacuation. 150,000 people have already been displaced. More could follow soon. Those in the line of fire are obviously a worried lot.
It's been very traumatic waking up every morning not knowing if our house is still going to be standing.
I'm really worried. My landlord tries to update us every day, and he's been saying that it definitely could change. We are, receiving emails or texts every day to see what the status is.
1,400 fire engines are operating in LA, along with more than 14,000 firefighting personnel. But even that is proving to be inadequate. Los Angeles is getting help from overseas. Firefighters from Mexico have started to arrive. 72 of them are now assisting the local authorities. Canada too is sending help. 250 firefighters, aircraft equipment and other resources. That's what they're helping with, the Canadians. Now the big question is, how long will all of this take? When will these fires be contained? If the conditions remain unfavorable, if the winds persist, it could take weeks. And it could get worse before it gets better. Meanwhile, the security situation is not improving either. There are more reports of looting. Police have made 9 new arrests. They have recovered $200,000 from the looters, also an Emmy award. These are like the Oscars for television. The looters took one of these awards from a home in Altadena. We don't know who it belonged to. Altadena is a high-profile area. A lot of Hollywood celebrities live there. Many prominent names had to abandon their homes, and looters are clearly taking advantage of that. Take a look at this. The local police says they caught the looters and that they will crack down hard on anyone involved in unlawful activities. But the way things are going, these assurances ring hollow. The wildfires in California have turned into a full-blown security and civic crisis. Los Angeles is living through its worst nightmare. Losing a home is hard. Losing a home to a wildfire is heartbreaking. But losing a home to a wildfire without insurance, that is life-shattering. And in Los Angeles, it is a grim reality. LA is battling devastating fires. Yet just months ago, thousands had their insurance cancelled. Why is that? Why are so many homes in LA uninsured? To understand that, let's look at State Farm. State Farm is a major US property insurance provider. It is also the biggest insurer in the region. In Los Angeles, in this place alone, State Farm covers around 250,000 homes, 250,000 homes. But here's the problem. Last year, State Farm began pulling back. It cancelled 30,000 insurance policies. In Pacific Palisades, 1,600 policies were dropped. Now, this neighborhood has around 9,000 residential units. The median value of a house is around $3.1 million, so it is an expensive neighborhood. And this matters because now these expensive homes have been gutted. Pacific Palisades is one of the areas hardest hit by the wildfires. It's been nearly wiped out, so all those expensive homes are gone without an insurance cover. And State Farm is not the only one. Other major insurers are also stepping away, leaving thousands of people vulnerable in wildfire-prone areas. Between 2020 and 2022, insurers refused to renew 2.8 million policies, 2.8 million. Over 500,000 were in Los Angeles. Those who did not get their policies cancelled had it even harder. Let me show you this report from the LA Times. One homeowner initially paid $4,500 for insurance. But at the time of renewal, the renewal of the policy, he was given a new quote, this time for $18,000. That was the new insurance amount, $18,000, almost 4 times what he had initially paid. So it is between the devil and the deep blue sea, either cancelled insurance or exorbitant rates. What explains this trend? In recent years, insurance companies have changed the way they work. Most of them use sophisticated modeling and even artificial intelligence. They can map out the risks of wildfires. Usually, insurance companies cannot cancel policies arbitrarily, but if the risk rises significantly, policies can be dropped. And climate change has increased the risk of fires. So in Los Angeles, policies were dropped like flies. From a company's point of view, the idea was to maximize profits. They don't want to pay for damages. They don't want to bear the cost of disasters like the current wildfires in Los Angeles. Take State Farm, for example. In 2022, its losses were $6.7 billion. In 2023, it was around $6.3 billion. So scaling back policies meant fewer losses. But where does this leave the residents? Many of them had only one resort, the FAIR plan, FAIR. It stands for Fair Access to Insurance Requirements. FAIR is funded by California's private home insurers. It offers only limited coverage, yet thousands of people opted for it. In 2020, 1.4 million residents depended on FAIR. That number went up to 2.7 million in 2023. So more and more people are resorting to this insurance. And this has left the insurer in trouble. It faces a potential loss of $311 billion. All of this raises one question: what could Los Angeles have done better? For one, insurance policies need a complete overhaul. It's not just about mandating coverage. It is about balancing risks and responsibilities. Insurers should be incentivized to stay in wildfire-prone areas. Governments must have risk-sharing mechanisms so that the financial burden does not fall on one party. California seems to have realized it now, the hard way. The state now mandates insurers to provide coverage in wildfire-prone areas. This is a new regulation. It aims to give residents access to more insurance options. Of course, it's a step in the right direction, but is it too late? For homeowners who've already lost everything, it is late. But for the rest, it could provide a lifeline. Because when homes burn, it is not just property, it is lives and futures at stake. Donald Trump is not president yet, but he's already impacting global politics. You can see that in West Asia. For months, Israel and Hamas had rejected a ceasefire. They refused to stop fighting or free the hostages. But now there's a breakthrough. A truce deal has been finalized in Doha. The final draft has been presented to both sides. Hamas has already approved it. It's only a question of when Israel does the same. Reports say it could come in hours or days. Most likely before January 20th. That's when Donald Trump will officially take charge. Of course, Joe Biden does not like that narrative. He spent most of 2024 calling for a truce. But both Hamas and Israel ignored him. Now he's claiming credit for it.
The war between Israel and Hamas are on the brink of a proposal that I laid out in detail months ago, finally coming to fruition. I have learned many years of public service to never, ever give up. We're pressing hard to close this.
Let's take a closer look at this truce. It is the first step towards ending the fighting, sort of like a precursor to a peace deal. On day one of the agreement, Hamas will free 3 hostages and Israel will pull out from Gazan cities. 7 days later, Hamas will free 4 more hostages and Israel will allow Gazans to return to the north, to their homes. This process will continue for 42 days. Hamas will free 34 hostages in total. In return, Israel will also free Palestinian prisoners. Reports say around 1,000 of them. If this first phase goes well, the talks will continue. There are 2 end goals here. 1, for Israel to completely withdraw from Gaza, and 2, to decide Gaza's post-war future. Who will rule the Strip? And who will fund the reconstruction? This is the deal on the table, basically. But why is Trump getting credit for it? Why not Joe Biden? Well, Trump's envoy was in Doha for the talks. His name is Steve Witkoff. On Friday, he contacted Benjamin Netanyahu's office. He wanted to meet the Israeli Prime Minister. Netanyahu's office said that he was in the middle of Shabbat. It's a holy day for Jews around the world. So they suggested a meeting on Saturday night. But apparently, Witkoff dismissed it. He said Shabbat was of no interest to him. So the Israelis reluctantly agreed. Reports say Netanyahu okayed the proposals in this very meeting, after which Witkoff flew back to Doha. And here is the catch. This is more or less the same deal that Netanyahu had rejected in 2024, the same conditions and the same provisions. He rejected them last year, but he is on the verge of accepting them now in 2025. Clearly, it is the Trump effect. And even the mediators know this. Today, Qatar thanked Biden and Trump for the breakthrough.
We especially appreciate the roles of both the Biden administration and the incoming Trump administration in the talks in the past couple of weeks. They were working in tandem together here in Doha and beyond the region to make sure that a deal happens.
Israeli officials have also been surprised by it. Trump and Netanyahu are great friends, so Israel expected a long rope from the incoming US president. But Trump has other ideas. He's more focused on Ukraine, Greenland and Panama. On Gaza, he just had one short message. It better be over when I take charge.
If those hostages aren't back, I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East. Can you elaborate? And it will not be good for Hamas, and it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. All hell will break out.
So Trump wants a clean slate in West Asia. He's got a big agenda ahead of him. The last thing he needs is an endless war. We saw indications of that last week. Trump posted a video that was critical of Netanyahu, shortly after which the Israeli Prime Minister cancelled his US trip. Netanyahu was supposed to attend Donald Trump's inauguration, but reports say he won't make it now. And now he's open to a truce with Hamas. Simply put, Trump could succeed where Joe Biden failed. Why? Because of pressure. The US always had leverage over Israel, but Biden was unwilling to use it. He wanted to flaunt his Zionist credentials. He wanted to woo the Jewish voters. On the other hand, Trump played hardball. He did not ask Netanyahu to take the deal. Reports say he forced him. And this is despite opposition from Netanyahu's own ministers. especially the national security and finance ministers. Both of them are far-right leaders. They want Netanyahu to reject the deal. They say it's a catastrophe. But Israel's opposition has promised to help Netanyahu. If the deal reaches parliament, they will back it, they say. Basically nullify the far-right's opposition. But honestly, none of this should have taken 15 months. It did because of Joe Biden, because of his need to overcompensate with allies. We saw that in Ukraine, and we saw that in Gaza. The records may show that a deal was clinched under his presidency, but the credit will go to Donald Trump. Our next story is about TikTok. It is facing a ban in the US. On January 19th, it will run out the clock. TikTok could go dark for 170 million Americans. No more downloads, no trending videos, no dances, no viral moments, unless Elon Musk ends up playing Messiah and saves Gen Z's favorite app. Can he do it? And will he? You see, TikTok is owned by ByteDance, which is a Chinese company. There are concerns about national security. So the US wants to ban it. Donald Trump lit the fire during his first term in office. Joe Biden kept it burning, and finally the US government gave TikTok an ultimatum. Sell to a US-based entity or face a total ban. Those were the two choices. TikTok chose the ban. It refused to sell. But now, as the deadline draws closer, it may be having second thoughts. That's what a new report says. The buzz is that they're considering selling TikTok's US operations. And guess who might be in the buyer's seat? Elon Musk. The Tesla CEO is no stranger to the world of social media. In 2022, he bought Twitter for $44 billion. He soon rebranded it as X and flipped the script. Could TikTok be next? Its US operations are valued at around $50 billion, which is a Musk-sized price tag. There was one scenario reportedly being floated. Musk buys TikTok, he merges it with X, and this creates one super platform. It sounds very Elon Musk. But here's the thing. What looks good on paper does not always translate in reality. TikTok has vehemently denied this. The company says it is not selling. It has called the report pure fiction. But the buyer's list has another name now. Mr. Beast, the world's most popular YouTuber with around 340 million subscribers. Mr. Beast put up a post on X. He says he will buy TikTok before it gets banned. It sounds like wishful thinking at the moment. But where does it leave TikTok? For now, Americans have just 5 days until the ban, and this uncertainty has sparked a new phenomenon, the rise of TikTok refugees. That's what they're calling themselves, TikTok refugees. These social media users are scrambling to find their next digital home. TikTok is trying to push users to Lemonade, which is their own sister app. But many users have found another Chinese app, Xiao Hong Shu. It translates to the little red book, although it's going by its English name, the Red Note. It is a Chinese social media app. The Red Note was launched in 2013 as a shopping guide, but it has evolved since. Now it's almost like a lifestyle Bible. Imagine a mix of Instagram, Reddit, and Pinterest. That's what it is. You can share photos, you can live stream content, you can talk about your shopping experience. Plus, there is an in-app shopping interface. In 2021, the app was valued at $20 billion. In 2024, it posted a profit of $1 billion. And Americans seem to love it, so much so that it has topped the US App Store. There are already 63,000 posts on this app with one recurring theme, TikTok refugees. The irony, however, is not lost on anyone. TikTok faces a ban over Chinese interference, even with its separate US operations. Yet here we have Americans flocking to Red Note, another Chinese app which is based entirely in China. The situation has fueled a wave of memes. Users are pointing out the obvious. If anything, Red Note is more problematic. In 2022, the Taiwan government banned it from official devices. They cited national security concerns. So the US is already struggling with one popular Chinese app. Can it afford to have another one captivate its youth? And the story does not end there. What we're seeing here is part of a larger trend. It's part of the global tech wars, where apps are not just apps anymore, they're battlegrounds. This war is about technology. It's about who owns your data. TikTok may be banned in the US, or it may rise like a phoenix with a rebrand. But where do we draw the line? Will this change the way we think about tech, security, and trust in an interconnected world? That's what remains to be seen.
No, I need. Wait.
Now let's talk about Greenland. It's the largest island in the world, located right next to Canada at the edge of the Arctic. Greenland is a semi-autonomous territory, but officially part of Denmark, and it is in the news again for one reason: because Donald Trump wants to buy it. And Trump is being egged on by his Republican Party. Yesterday, a Republican congressman introduced this bill. It is titled the Make Greenland Great Again Act. If it is passed, it will allow Donald Trump to directly enter negotiations to buy Greenland. Trump will probably be thrilled. He has been wanting to buy Greenland for years, since his first presidential term. This bill could help him get the ball rolling. But does he want to buy Greenland? Well, apparently, why does he want to buy Greenland? It is to protect the world, he says.
We need Greenland for national security purposes. I've been told that for a long time, long before I even ran. I mean, people have been talking about it for a long time. You have approximately 45,000 people there. People really don't even know if Denmark has any legal right to it. But if they do, they should give it up because we need it for national security. That's for the free world. I'm talking about protecting the free world.
Now, this may sound like a tall claim, but let's actually look at Greenland to see what he means. The island is huge. It's about a quarter of Brazil or 2/3 of India in size. It looks bigger on maps. They over-exaggerate the size of polar regions. Globes offer a more accurate picture, but either way, Greenland is massive. Next, look at where it is. Up in the North Atlantic, between North America and Europe. In fact, right between Washington and Moscow. Think of a direct flight from Moscow to DC flying over the Arctic. Greenland would lie on that flight path at about the halfway mark. This makes it strategically invaluable for defense. The US already has a military facility in Greenland. It's called the Pitufik Space Base. It's a base for the US Space Force. That's the case today. Before this, it was known as the Thule Air Base. And it has been around since 1943. So the US military knows Greenland well. They've been using it for decades. But Trump wants to expand this military footprint in Greenland, and that is a security argument. It's one reason why Trump wants to buy Greenland. The other reason is commercial. Greenland is home to just 57,000 people. It's more than what Trump had estimated, but pretty close. Think about all of that, about a landmass bigger than Mexico, with just 57,000 people. Think about all the mineral resources present. On a per-person basis, it's amazing. Greenlanders would be some of the most mineral-rich people on Earth. But the lack of manpower means that the minerals are untouched, just waiting to be exploited. That's probably what Trump feels anyway. So he wants to buy Greenland and set the US military and mining firms loose on the island. And his Republican colleagues want to help him do it. That is why they introduced the Make Greenland Great Again Act. The act will empower Trump to start working on a deal, that too by 12:01 p.m. on January 20th. Basically, immediately after his inauguration, he wants to begin. The act also puts the US Congress on the clock. They will have just 60 days to review any deal that Trump makes, to somehow come up with a joint resolution of disapproval. After the 60-day deadline, any Trump-Greenland deal will automatically be accepted. Now, this is a neat trick. It paves the way for a quick agreement. The US Democratic Party does not have the numbers to veto anything, so effectively, Trump can buy Greenland on whatever terms he chooses. Well, as long as Denmark and Greenland accept. And that's the real hurdle here. The US has tried to buy Greenland before, in 1867, in 1910, and as recently as 1946. Denmark rejected the idea all three times. It has sold other territory to the US. Most famously, it sold the Danish West Indies to the US in 1917. Today, they are known as the US Virgin Islands. Denmark sold them for $25 million back in 1917. That's about $600 million today. So Denmark has made deals with the US in the past, but things are quite different now. It isn't the age of colonialism anymore. Greenland has been granted autonomy and the right to self-determination. By law, the island is free to choose independence. They just need to hold a referendum. So for Denmark, Greenland is not theirs to sell.
And when it comes to the question of independence, I would like to reiterate that in our eyes it is a decision that starts and ends in Nuuk and in Greenland. Greenland belongs to the Greenlandic people and no one else.
As for the island itself, what does Greenland think? Take a look.
We don't want to be Danes. We don't want to be Americans. We want to be Greenlandic. And of course it is the Greenlandic people who decide their future.
Greenland's Prime Minister is ready to talk to the US, even work together on mineral extraction and increase trade. But that's about it. It does not seem like Greenland is willing to become a US territory, no matter what Donald Trump says or what bills make their way through the US Congress. Our next story is about Pakistan and the US, and you have to admit, this is an odd pair. They don't really seem to have much in common, yet somehow they are allies, close military partners. The US has even designated Pakistan as a major non-NATO ally. Yes, I'm not joking. That's really the case. Thankfully, some people do understand how ridiculous this is. Every other year, one US congressman comes up with a bill to scrap Pakistan's major non-NATO ally status. His name is Andy Biggs. He's been trying to get this bill passed since 2019, and so far he has always failed. But will he finally get his wish this year? Our next report explores.
HR 73, introduced in 2019. HR 35, introduced in 2021. HR 80 in 2023. Notice something similar about these bills? Exactly the same. Every 2 years, at the beginning of every US Congress session, one congressman keeps trying to push the same bill through. The congressman is Andy Biggs. The bill's number changes, but it's always about the same thing: to terminate the designation of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan as a major non-NATO ally and for other purposes. This is the congressman's pet project. And he's at it again this year with HR 94. We don't have the text yet, but it's probably safe to assume that it'll be exactly the same. And this year, things may finally go the congressman's way. Biggs has been trying his best to give Pakistan the boot, to remove its designation as a major non-NATO ally. Pakistan received the status in the year 2004 from former US President George W. Bush. Bush needed Pakistan as a base of operations against the Taliban in Afghanistan. So he gave Islamabad the MNNA designation. Congressman Andy Biggs has been trying to undo this travesty for years now, and this time he may just succeed. Because Donald Trump will soon be president. His Republican Party will control the US House of Representatives and the Senate. Basically, the decision to remove Pakistan's MNNA designation will rest with Trump, and he may be keen to do it. Trump wasn't a big fan of Islamabad in the past. In 2018, he cut military aid to the country, despite it being a major non-NATO ally. Back then, Trump said Pakistan had based its relationship with the US on nothing but lies and deceit. He accused Pakistan of sheltering terrorists, so he shut off the tap. This was in 2018. The bill to terminate the designation of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan as a major non-NATO ally was introduced for the first time the following year, but it never saw the light of day. It faced resistance and was eventually buried, year after year. The reason back then was simple. The Taliban were active in Afghanistan, the US needed Pakistan's help to counter them. So Islamabad held on to the major non-NATO ally designation. Classic quid pro quo. In 2021, the Taliban came back to power, after Joe Biden pulled the US military out of Afghanistan. The US-backed government crumbled. Theoretically, the US didn't need Pakistan after that. They had already failed. But maybe Biden and the Democrats didn't want to rock the boat, so the bill to revoke MNNA status failed to pass in 2023 as well. But now, Trump is back, so he could very well decide to scrap Pakistan's major non-NATO ally status. After all, what's the point in maintaining the farce anymore? Pakistan has been cozying up to China for years. Push comes to shove, Islamabad will side with Beijing over Washington. It's not exactly major non-NATO ally behavior. Islamabad is no longer useful in dealing with the Taliban either. The two are constantly at odds, but it doesn't matter to the US, especially not to Trump. So then, why would he keep spending millions on Pakistan? Why would he give them American weapons and funding? Why would he keep throwing good money after bad? He has no reason to.
The chip race is heating up again. Joe Biden has fired a parting shot at China, a final round of export curbs. The idea is to keep advanced chips away from Chinese hands, especially chips used for artificial intelligence. But not everyone is happy. US chip giant Nvidia has slammed Biden's move, and so have allies in Europe. So what's so controversial about these new curbs, and will they extend America's chip dominance? Let's break it down. Biden's new policy creates 3 tiers of countries. The first are allies like Australia, Japan and South Korea. These countries face no curbs. The second are rivals like China and Russia. These countries are already banned from buying US chips. Biden has simply extended that ban or expanded that ban. And finally, the third tier. This includes countries in West Asia and Europe. China has often bought and smuggled American chips from these countries, so the idea is to cut them off. They're not banned from buying US chips, but their imports will be capped. In total, some 120 countries have been curbed. It tells you how expansive this move is. China has naturally criticized Biden's decision. They say the US is undermining market rules.
I would like to stress that the United States had generalized the concept of national security, politicized and weaponized economic and technological issues, and misused export controls to maliciously suppress China. These actions severely undermine market rules and the international economic and trade order.
The rules won't apply immediately. The incoming Trump administration has been given 120 days. They can study and listen to concerns in this time. If they like it, the curbs will be imposed. If not, they can scrap it. Nvidia will be hoping for the latter. Their shares fell nearly 2% on Monday. And listen to what the company said. While cloaked in the guise of an anti-China measure, these rules would do nothing to enhance US security. Rather than mitigate any threat, the new Biden rules would only weaken America's global competitiveness, undermining the innovation that has kept the US ahead. Nvidia's concern is clear. If this policy is imposed, it would shrink their market. Only 18 countries could freely buy US chips. Everyone else would be curbed. Reports say that that's 80% of the market gone. So what is Nvidia doing? They're sweet-talking Donald Trump. Let me quote the company again. The first Trump administration laid the foundation for America's current strength and success in AI. We look forward to a return to policies that strengthen American leadership, bolster our economy, and preserve our competitive edge in AI and beyond. It's a good attempt, but Trump may not help. He started this export curb policy in his first term. Biden merely expanded it. If anything, Trump 2.0 will ramp up the export restrictions, so Nvidia may not get any relief. But let's focus on the bigger picture here. On the state of the chip and AI race. As of now, the US has a technological edge. Their goal is to retain that lead to make sure that China does not catch up.
The Biden administration has made the investments to ensure we have the lead in AI right now. But if it's China, not the United States, determining the future of AI on the planet, I think the stakes of that are just profound. And so I hope that the new administration, because this shouldn't be a partisan issue at all, sees that challenge and that opportunity and seizes it so that it's America making technology work for us rather than adversaries make technology work against us.
But China is catching up. Last month, a Chinese startup unveiled a DeepSeek V3. That's what it's called. It's a large language model like ChatGPT. DeepSeek V3. It's like ChatGPT, maybe even better than it. Some reports say that DeepSeek outperformed ChatGPT and Meta's Llama. That too without NVIDIA chips. Most AI models are trained on chips made by NVIDIA. They're considered the gold standard. But China cannot buy these advanced NVIDIA chips, yet they're making powerful models. The question is how? For starters, Beijing has a chip stockpile. They have amassed advanced chips through smuggling networks. And secondly, they're making chips at home. Huawei is leading this Chinese campaign. Big firms like Alibaba and Baidu are also investing. And that's the thing about China. If they set a target, it becomes a national mission. It's all hands and institutions on deck. You get subsidies from government, you get easy investments, fewer regulatory issues, and full political support from the regime. We saw that in the electric car race. The West had a technological edge in the 2000s, but China is now pulling ahead. Clearly, the US is worried about a repeat, which is why Joe Biden has announced these last-minute curbs. Still, there is no guarantee of success. Best case scenario, China falls behind in the AI race. Worst case scenario, it boosts China's domestic AI industry. Countries that cannot buy from the US may end up approaching the Chinese. So the key is to find a balance, a policy that looks at security and innovation. The Maha Kumbh is underway. It is the largest gathering of humanity in the world. So millions of people are gathering in the Indian city of Prayagraj. Among them, you will find ash-smeared holy men, devout Hindu pilgrims, tourists, and culture enthusiasts from all over the world. They're charging into the icy waters of River Ganga and by proxy boosting the Kumbh travel economy. According to reports, bookings for flights to Prayagraj have surged by 162%. Bookings for train by 187%, and for hotels, there is a 10-fold jump. This is an unprecedented boost. What's behind it? And what does it mean for India? Here is a report.
The largest gathering of humanity is underway. The Maha Kumbh, the first in 144 years. And it is being held in India's Prayagraj.
Excited, but also humbled by this because it is a very profound moment. I mean, it's not swimming, this is something much more serious, much more elemental, essential for the spirit.
You see the real India, and the true power of India is their people. And look around, it's thousands of people, and the vibe I cannot even transfer. I'm shaking because of the vibe of people, of holy place.
600 million people are expected to attend. Many of them are Hindu pilgrims, but many are tourists or culture enthusiasts. People from all walks of life, from India and abroad, who are visiting this sacred city. And this includes celebrities, from Laureen Powell, Steve Jobs' wife, to actors Richard Gere and Amitabh Bachchan. Prayagraj has become a top travel destination, and travel demand is surging to unprecedented levels. Flight bookings are soaring. According to a travel platform, Prayagraj has seen a 162% increase in flight bookings compared to last year. And let alone the Prayagraj airport. Nearby airports are experiencing a surge as well. Take, for instance, the Varanasi airport. There, bookings are up by 127% and for Lucknow airport by 42%. Airfares are increasing as well. From cities like Jaipur, Bengaluru, and Mumbai, they have surged nearly threefold compared to last year. As tourists are flocking to Prayagraj, the government is beckoning them with welcome changes. They have announced 20 new flight connections for the Maha Kumbh. The Prayagraj airport is undergoing improvements. It is upgrading to accommodate more passengers. Speaking of improvements, India is running 3,000 special trains, on top of the 10,000 regular trains to Prayagraj to accommodate the passengers. After all, train bookings are witnessing an increase as well. According to experts, they have surged 187% compared to last year. 57% of them are by solo travelers, and 39% by women.
It's been a life-changing experience and once-in-a-lifetime experience. I'll never forget this forever. And it was very organized till the point we had to take the bath. Then it was maddening. But we finally did it.
I feel that it's very peaceful. I feel even with a lot of people, every people is pulsing, the Kumbh Mela. We can really feel the Kumbh Mela inside the bodies.
And this energy can be felt by hotels as well. Prayagraj has turned into a tent city, with more than 150,000 tents, and 25,000 accommodations arranged for visitors. And for the first time, the complete tent city is available on Google Maps. Fueled by ease of access, bookings in Prayagraj have jumped 10 times compared to last year, and hotel prices are on the rise. There are about 80 luxury accommodations, where room rates are reaching as high as 40,000 rupees, or $462 per night. The Maha Kumbh is a grand showcase of India's cultural heritage. With luxury tents and enhanced air connectivity, giving it a lift, this mega event is a big boost to India's tourism.
Being an athlete can be lonely, especially if you don't play team sports. You have no one to depend on and no one to bounce ideas off. Sometimes that loneliness is filled by a coach, which is why finding the right one is so important. Tennis legend Novak Djokovic has found a new coach for 2025. It's one of his toughest rivals on court, Britain's Andy Murray. This is a strange pick for so many reasons. For starters, Murray just retired in August last year, and secondly, they are long-time rivals since the age of 12. So everyone wondered if the duo would work. On Monday, we got a glimpse of their chemistry for the first time. That too from close quarters. You see, new rules say that coaches can sit near the playing area. It's a decision that has divided the tennis world. Here is a report.
It's a big day at the Rod Laver Arena in Melbourne. Novak Djokovic is on court. He's 2 sets up on his young American opponent. But he's not happy with his game. In between points, Djokovic wanders over to his coach. And there's Andy Murray. It's like a glitch in the Matrix. Murray is just a week older than Djokovic. They've been rivals since the age of 12, and their rivalry was a big part of tennis in the last decade. They met 7 times in Grand Slam finals. Djokovic won 5 of them, while Murray won twice. Yet here they are, coach and player, in Melbourne. When Djokovic reached out, Murray was stunned. He had just retired from tennis in August, so coaching wasn't part of his plan. Yet this opportunity was too good to pass up. Murray agreed to join Djokovic on a trial basis, Melbourne being that trial. Monday was their first outing on court. Usually, the coaches are seated in the stands above. They're not supposed to offer advice or suggestions. It's a rule that set tennis apart. In football, you see managers shouting instructions from the sidelines, even making changes to the playing 11. In cricket, you see coaches sending messages to the pitch, sometimes using water boys as messengers. But in elite tennis, none of that was allowed. In-match coaching was banned. Not anymore, though. In 2024, the International Tennis Federation said that coaching is fine. At the Australian Open, they've gone a step ahead. Coaches are not seated in the stands anymore. They're seated courtside. The coaches have access to real-time game data. They can also shout instructions and offer suggestions. Djokovic clearly likes the idea. He says he can hear his coach a lot better.
I really like the feeling of having Andy as my coach and in the corner. From this year, new coaching stuff and player coaching stuff. Seating which was just basically on the court in the corner, which allows me to hear them better. So yeah, a few times I did approach Andy and he was giving me his feedback and his guidance and opinions.
But not everyone is happy. Men's number 4 seed Taylor Fritz wants to keep coaches away. He says players should make their own strategy. Women's number 1 seed Aryna Sabalenka has a different issue. She feels the courtside seating is too small. Right now, only 4 people can sit there. Sabalenka says make it 8 because she wants her whole team to be there. Such problems were bound to emerge. After all, this is a radical change in tennis rules. If coaches have real-time data, they can formulate strategies accordingly. For example, say player X is missing a lot of backhands in the match. The coach can see that data on their screen. They can also relay it to the player. This already happens in most sports. Coaches are involved, yet detached from the action, which gives them a unique perspective. But perspective alone cannot win you matches. Murray can ask Djokovic to target his opponent's backhand, but Djokovic will have to do the striking himself. On Monday, he did. But let's see if this partnership leads to something bigger. Perhaps Grand Slam number 25 for Djokovic?
No, I need. Wait.
And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. India celebrates Makar Sankranti, Bihu and Pongal with festivities across the nation. North Koreans take part in mass exercises for the nation's first sports day of the year. And a Trump lookalike who sings to sell pudding in Pakistan has become a viral sensation. Finally, we're taking you back in history on this day in 2011. The Arab Spring ousted Tunisian President Zine al-Abidine Ben Ali. His regime was marked by corruption and repression. He faced massive protests after the self-immolation of a street vendor protesting police harassment. Ben Ali fled to Saudi Arabia after 23 years in power. We're leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
ट्रम्प वास्ते गाना गा रहे हैं साहब डोनाल्ड ट्रम्प वास्ते होने आजा देर न ला सजना अखा थक गईयां तक तक रा सजना अखा थक गईयां तक तक रा
Hello and welcome to the late night edition with me Ayushman Singh Jamwal. Big breaking news coming in at the top of the bulletin. In a major boost to the defence sector, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will dedicate 3 frontline naval combat ships, INS Surat, INS Nilgiri and INS Vaghshir, to the nation on their commissioning at the Naval Dockyard in Mumbai. This will take place tomorrow. The commissioning of 3 major naval combat ships marks a significant leap forward in realizing India's Atmanirbhar vision of becoming a global leader in defence manufacturing and maritime security. Now remember, INS Surat is the 4th and final ship of the guided missile destroyer project, ranks among the largest and most sophisticated destroyers in the world. It has an indigenous content of 75% and is equipped with state-of-the-art weapon sensor packages and advanced network-centric capabilities. Now, INS Nilgiri is the first ship of the stealth frigate project and is the next generation of indigenous frigates. INS Vaghshir is the 6th and final submarine of the P-75 Scorpion project, represents India's growing expertise in submarine construction made in collaboration with the Naval Group of France. First, here's a taste of what will take place tomorrow as Prime Minister Modi dedicates these 3 warships to the nation as India is on its path to become Atmanirbhar in the defence sector.
This January, be a part of history as the Indian Navy commissions the destroyer Surat stealth frigate Nilgiri and submarine Vakshir, together at Naval Dockyard Mumbai in a landmark ceremony presided over by the Honorable Prime Minister. Built by Mazgon Dock shipbuilders, each a tribute to Atmanirbhar Bharat with unique operational capabilities. Nilgiri is a revolutionary design with a flush forecastle, signal suppression techniques and a super rapid gun mount with smart ammunition. Surat, with her size and strength, is a floating fortress. And Vakshir, one of the world's most advanced submarines. Together, they embody a credible, cohesive, future-ready, and above all, combat-ready force. Tomorrow's Navy, today.
India's naval forces getting a significant booster. I'm joined by my colleague Yasha Kotak on the broadcast. So Yasha, Prime Minister Modi will dedicate these 3 warships to the nation as India is on the path to become Atmanirbhar in the defence sector, something that has been the brainchild of Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Absolutely. In fact, Ayushman, when you speak of this very initiative, what's also remarkable is that INS Surat, which is 75%, made in India project, is also the first warship to be AI enabled. So, when you speak of the features of these warships, when it comes to INS Surat, of course, is the last in the range of INS Vishakhapatnam, the range which had 4 warships before this. And the first one now, in fact, amidst all the lines of frigates, or in fact, for that matter, even destroyers that we have, INS Surat will be the first to be AI-enabled technology. But apart from that, now, when you speak of the other 2, because, of course, Prime Minister Narendra Modi would be in Mumbai tomorrow, he'd be commissioning 3 warships. Of the 3 warships, one is INS Surat, the next one is INS Nilgiri. Now, INS Nilgiri is the first in its class, that is the first in the frigate class of its own category, and then it's INS Vakshir, which is a submarine. This is the last in the Kalvari class of submarines. So all of these 3 would be commissioned by Prime Minister tomorrow post 9 a.m. In fact, this event marks the start of the INS Nilgiri class of warship. That's a frigate class, but it's in fact a mix between frigate and a destroyer class. So this new INS Nilgiri, which will start, is trying to blur the gap between frigate and destroyers. Destroyers are in fact known to be the warships which are the first in the line of attack. They have high-end missiles. When it comes to INS Surat, which is a destroyer class, it has 16 missiles of which are surface-to-surface missiles, 16 surface-to-air missiles. But apart from that, when it comes to INS Nilgiri, which is a frigate class, which is the second line of defense when it comes to being attacked by the enemy ship, which is where it has 8 surface-to-surface and 8 surface-to-air missiles, apart from the torpedoes, which is the case with INS Surat as well. Yes, Ayushman.
Absolutely. Thank you, Yasha, for joining us on the broadcast. Let's get to our guests also. I'm joined by Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni on the broadcast, defense expert. Sir, you've seen those visuals on our screen. 3 major warships now being added to India's naval arsenal. How big of a game changer is this as we continue our momentum on the path to becoming Atmanirbhar in the defense sector?
Ayushman, see, capacity building takes time. Intentions can change overnight. And as things are, heating up in Indo-Pacific, you see the Chinese expansionism taking place. Of course, we are part of the Quad. But anything and everything, to be a part of it, you must also have teeth. And this is the cutting-edge technology. Whether it's a frigate, whether it's a destroyer, whether it's a submarine. And we also had the Prime Minister going to France sometime around the 10th of Feb or 11th of Feb for that artificial intelligence symposium there. And at the same time, it is understood that there would be another 26 of these Rafale aircrafts, again maritime, another 3 of these Scorpion missiles being, initiated further on to the 6 that we already have. So there's a lot that is happening because all of it enhances your maritime security. It enhances your maritime domination. It strengthens the maritime operational preparedness. And obviously, with the way the things are in Indo-Pacific, and nothing like being self-reliant, because it gives you the ability to be able to make the state-of-the-art ships, destroyers, frigates, submarines, and imagine the submarine, though it's the diesel, but it's the quietest submarine that is operating. You have a destroyer, range 7,500 kilometers. You have frigates from where you have 8 of bombers being fired. So there's a lot that is happening. And this is what gives the capability. And most of it, Navy, all said and done, has been a little ahead of most of the other services in terms of designing its own warships. And it's been into it for a long, long time. And they have actually mastered the art. And slowly and steadily, in conjunction with the French, in being able to make their own frigates, Pentagon docks, which is upswing, though the projects with the Germans will also be coming up soon. So there's a lot happening, and there is a requirement. Naval requirement is a must because we have to dominate the Indo-Pacific. There is no denying the fact. In the Indian Ocean, there's none better. And of course, with the kind of, the alliances, the kind of strategic partnership, the kind of Malabar exercises that take place between the various, until and unless you have state-of-the-art, everybody wants to be cooperating with India, knowing fully well that the Indian, the war machinery is modern. The people are absolutely technology savvy. They're up and about, very professional. So who wouldn't want to cooperate with India? Who wouldn't want that Indo-Pacific? None better than India with the center and being able to dominate it. And it enhances. It is not with the view to threaten somebody. It is to ensure peaceful navigation. Until and unless we have navigation which is free from any encumbrances or threats from any part of the country, anywhere in the international waters, that is a threat. So we have maritime trade passing the other countries in an area, not necessarily dependent, but cooperating along with you to ensure that there is peaceful passage to ships along the international waters and that your own exclusive economic zones are not threatened by anybody. So in that context, I see this particular enhancement of maritime security, the operational preparedness, a big go, state-of-the-art frigate, destroyer, and the submarine. And none better than being named even after a shark, which is what they call it as stunning, the stun capability, the lethality which it has, and being named as Vakshir submarine. I think it's a wonderful thing, and there could be nothing better than being Atmanirbhar, self-reliant, at which the Prime Minister has always been insisting, and who better than him going to commissioning the modern frigate, the destroyer, and the submarine tomorrow.
Right, and Sanjay Kulkarni, General Kulkarni, when it comes to India's naval capabilities and the kind of sea change you've seen in the defense sector, as a military man, how much of a game changer has this been in the last 10 to 15 years when it comes to channeling research, collaboration, high-tech technology, and at the same time channeling Indian talent, technical talent into the defense sector? As someone who's seen the evolution of India's defense capabilities, how much of a game changer has it been in the last 10 to 15 years to see this level of technology entering the military space?
Huge. Absolute huge changes, primarily because we've been looking at it self-reliance. And when we talk of self-reliance, we look at it, in the internal designing of your own capability, your own